You may be unconsciously completely crushing innovation in your company. Is innovation important to you? Look at what's been happening in the last 18 months, right? It has very, very much been innovate, pivot, respond, or it's over for many businesses. What about you? Have you changed a little bit? Changed your company some in the last year and a half? Comment here. Welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. Comment. Talk to me. Send your questions in. Send your comments in. This is live TV, right? 21st century TV, live and interactive. This is a two-way conversation. The thing I wanted to share with you real quick today is something that I've seen companies do that just crush innovation. You can't afford to do that. And this is something that comes to you as the leader, where you just may be pushing innovation back, completely creating a culture where people will not innovate, which really puts you in a bad position, right? There's only two directions in business: forward and backwards, right? You're either going forwards or you're going backwards. If you're standing still, if you are not innovating and you're standing still, guess what? You're going backwards. It may seem like you're standing still, but you're being passed by. Here's what I want to ask you. How do you respond to problems, to mistakes specifically? When your team, when one of your team members, one of your staff, one of your employees makes a mistake, how do you respond with that? How do you deal with it? Do you bite their head off? Is it one mistake and you're out? Let me share something with you. When I started my career, my first job out of college was with Hughes Aircraft, the best systems engineers in the world. And they manufactured stuff. Their thing was really systems engineering that created a need to manufacture. It was in the manufacturing work, one of the manufacturing organizations. Here was one of the mantras that they taught us as new employees. If you're right 40% of the time, you're a superstar. If you are right 60% of the time, you walk on water. You are considered a god amongst the top talent in the technical world at that time. Think about that, 60% errors. Look at baseball statistics. Bat at 300, that's $1,000,000, right? Multi-million dollar pay in today's baseball, professional baseball world. But that's failing a lot, right? 300, it's only hitting, what, 3 out of 1,000? I'm not big on my baseball stats. You're a baseball fan? The thing is, they're failing way, way, way more than they're succeeding. And there's the superstars, the best of the best. What about in your company? Now, so I started at Hughes Aircraft, right? Many years later, ended up at another company, completely different perspective on things. You make a mistake, it was career limiting. Every mistake was career limiting. You had to be right all of the time, and people hunted for mistakes in other people. It was a way to make your career, it was a way to advance, was to be able to go, hey, that was wrong over there, and be the one, be the champion, the savior that came in and fixed the mistake that somebody else made. So I was sitting in the back. There were a group of us that they hired into an expanding department, and the new hires were sitting in the back, and we're watching these presentations, first status presentations that we had gone through. And we're waiting for our turn to present, and we're watching what's happening. And these presenters are just getting their butts chewed off. They're getting ripped for what they're presenting. They're going all, and we had these status charts we're presenting, and it's all red, green, blue, red, green, yellow, and they're up there and they got all these green dots that they're showing and how great things are. And then they would come to red, where something went wrong, where they've got a problem, where they need help, and they would just get destroyed by the management team they were presenting to. So we looked at each other and go, we see what the problem is. Do you see what the problem is with that? There's a bunch of problems. The key problem that we honed on at the time, given that the environment, the culture within that company was, you can't make mistakes, you can't ask for help because it's going to be career limiting. So what we did is we flipped the script. We started doing status presentations to go, here's where I need help. I've got a question. Here's where I'm not clear on some. All the red, all the yellow went right to the top of the presentation. We dealt with that first. And we just laid it out and go, here's what's going wrong. I need some help with this. Or here's what's going wrong. This is what I'm doing to fix it. Do you have any additional guidance? We still got yelled at. not nearly as bad as the others, and all of a sudden we're held up for as the gold standard on how to do the status presentations. Oddly enough, more than half of us had started our careers at Hughes Aircraft. We recognized each other pretty quickly. We had been taught, we had been given a different mindset on how to approach things. It's like, and if there's an issue, let's get that on the table right now, because we started our careers in an environment where that was encouraged. Wasn't necessarily a bad thing. There's boundaries. You gotta have boundaries on risks that can be taken, mistakes that can be made. At the same time, if you want to drive innovation in your company, you have to encourage risk taking. You have to allow mistakes. That requires you as the leader of the company to set what are the guide rails? What's acceptable as a mistake? What's an acceptable risk? Where do you really get yourself in serious trouble so you can protect you, protect the team, and also protect the individual from doing something that could flame out their career, especially if it's early on. Make sure that there's clear guidelines. Then you need to model the way on that. You need to lead by example and allow the risk taking and deal with the failures that will result. If you set up your guideposts, your guidelines properly, you won't be getting break the bank. Oh my gosh, the company's now at risk level mistakes. Those shouldn't be happening. And I'm not saying do stuff that's unethical or illegal. What I'm saying is allow people to take risks, encourage them to take risks. When they make a mistake, don't let that be a career ender. Ask them, instead of biting their head off. Another company I worked for had a boss that would just scream at people. You could hear him with office doors closed. Now, in today's environment, he would probably get fired and even arrested for abusive behavior. You could hear him screaming, personal attacks, very deeply personal attacks on people out in the hallway. Had a lot of issues himself, right? It's not a good indication. Here's the point with that, though. No one would dare take any kind of risks. And it really was to the detriment of the company because they needed to innovate. They were in a tough competitive position. They were in a declining market. They needed to innovate in order to stay alive. But yet here was a key executive within the company that was definitely creating a culture where taking any kind of risk, making any kind of error was not acceptable, and actually had such a high fear level that people wouldn't dare. No one would stick their neck out for anything or to help anybody. It's collaboration. There's a whole bunch of other things that go out the window with that type of an environment. So how do you respond? Are you like him? Really? I'm not saying that you're off the charts like him. It's using his example because he was so far over the line, makes it easy to see what he was doing wrong. But where might you be a little bit more like that than you would want to be? Then would be healthy for having a high innovation, risk-taking environment within your company, or innovation culture within your company. See, if you don't allow people to take risks, if you don't widen what's acceptable in terms of making mistakes, not saying that don't hold people accountable for making deadlines, for delivering to meet, customer satisfaction. Not at all. Excuse me. Just saying on the path from here to there, if they make a mistake, how do you respond to that? You first take a coaching approach, ask some questions. What went wrong? Why did that happen? What are they going to do to fix it? What are they learning for it? What are they going to do different? What changes might they recommend with the company, with your policy and procedure based on what they learned? For your consideration, you may want to do that. That's a more high innovation environment. That's the kind of conversations that I heard from leaders within high innovation environments like Hughes Aircraft and other companies that I worked with over the years. It's a different mindset. Are you reinforcing that mindset of, okay, what went wrong? How you fixing it? How you holding the requirement that you've got for time, budget, quality on what you're delivering either to the next person in the process, the next step to delivering to the ultimate customer, or especially when dealing with the ultimate customer, making sure the customer is getting what they want and in a way that makes, getting what they pay for, but in a way that makes them extremely happy to do business with your company. Still maintain that at the same time, get them to think about solving their own problems. That's another key. There's a bonus key point for you. keeping your team thinking about, okay, if something isn't going as planned, if something did go way wrong, how are they fixing it? Don't always be the answer person for them. Let your staff do what you hired them to do. Or when producing events, we have a saying, let crew, right? Let the people do the setup. When you're producing an event, you got people that are doing stuff on stage, they're setting the room, that are handling the audio visual. You don't go over and start telling the audiovisual team what to do in detail that you've paid. This is usually outsourced at big events, right? They're a professional team. You let them do what they want. If you got some questions, you talk to them about it. Do the same with your staff. That will help create a larger culture of innovation by being very mindful, being very focused on how you respond to mistakes, allowing mistakes, not responding in a way which is really more of a reaction, right? When you react, it's like, oh, what was that? That starts to set the tone. That sets the example. People go, that's not good. No mistakes means no risk taking, means no innovation. At the end of the day, you can't survive, especially in this environment, especially over the next 15 months, with zero innovation within your company. So encourage that. This is the one tip that you can apply beginning today. Focus on how you respond when people are struggling, having a problem, reporting a mistake. Coach them through it. Ask them to solve it. Don't solve it for them. Ask them to get them to reflect on what they're learning from that, what they would recommend gets changed about how their part of the company operates based on that. That also opens up an advantage for you in the war on talent in recruiting. And we'll talk more about that later. Thanks for joining me today. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you being part of Wolf's Watch. Smash that like button. And I will see you on the trail when we do the next Wolf's Watch. We're doing this daily, and we'll bring tips. We got a lot of great interviews coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the future. See you on the trail.